Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch Movie. I am Mike.
I'm Jay.
And tonight we are interviewing Paul Brad Logan, whose book is out. Well, it's out now. It comes out today, but you'll probably be seeing this tomorrow. But he's the writer of the new Halloween Ends novelization. Not only that, he's the writer of the Halloween Ends movie, which is super exciting. We've not had someone who actually wrote the movie of any of the David Gordon Green sequels come out. And it's amazing that we're going to do it with this one because there's so many questions, Jim.
For sure. I can't wait to pick his butt. Pick his brain.
Speaking of which, so let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS, because Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, yeah. Here he is. What's up, man?
Hey.
Hi, how are y'all?
Doing good. Yourself?
Doing awesome.
Yeah. It's been an interesting week for sure.
I bet so.
I bet. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. We're both super excited about it.
Yeah, so am I. I like to. I can talk. I get a little nervous, but it's fun.
Hey, that's what the drink's for.
Yeah.
But you just wrote not only the novelization, but also the script for what is the biggest movie that anybody's talking about right now and the biggest genre and the most popular probably franchise in that genre. How'd that whole thing happen, man? How'd that end up happening for you?
Well, I entered like a lottery. I put my name into a bowl and and David drew it. And no, I've known David for like 15 years now. We've been friends, and I wrote a movie for him about 10 years ago that starred Al Pacino and Holly Hunter, and we've always been writing together. And he first talked to me about it in the summer of 2016 when Jason Blum first emailed him about the project, and I got super excited, and I begged him to do it because I just wanted to see what he would do with a horror movie. I love watching interesting directors work in different genres. And then, he sent me the script. Whenever they had finished it, I was really excited. After I saw the first edit, we sort of started talking if there were going to be sequels, what they potentially could be. And then he went on to hire Scott to help him and Danny do the second one. And then he called me and Chris in around December of 2018 to have us go up to Charleston to start working on Halloween Ends. So they were still finishing Kills whenever we were writing Halloween Ends.
Cool.
Yeah, and dude, that had to be the weirdest ride too. Just going from that. By the way, I saw Manglehorn, Al Pacino. That had to be crazy too. Writing for Al Pacino,
yeah,
had to be insane.
Come on, that's my first movie. It's like Al Pacino, Holly Hunter. I love this guy, Harmony Korine. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. He's in it. He's a great guy. Watching Al Pacino sit in a little chair with a script and memorizing words that you wrote. I still haven't. That was 2013 we filmed it, and I still haven't. It still hasn't sunk.
You still got the goosebumps going big time.
I still got the goosebumps. I love him to pieces. He's the sweetest man in the world. I've been very fortunate to work with just incredibly sweet and good-hearted people. I'm very sensitive, so it's very helpful. Awesome. Yeah.
Were you have you always been how familiar were you with Michael Myers or the Halloween franchise overall before you came into the project?
I had heard his name. No, he's Michael Myers. I've known him since I could speak.
Right.
I went to this really intense Christian school growing up, and that sort of material was sort of frowned upon. But my dad, he raised me and my brother alone, and he didn't censor us from watching anything. I was it was sort of like the sacred and the profane were always at odds in my head. But at the video store, I would just I would be terrified of the video art, too scared to watch any of them. Yeah. And especially something about that Halloween. The original box art just really unnerved me, and so much so that I ended up watching that one the fourth in the series. I saw Halloween Part 4 in the theater when it came out, and I think that was my first panic attack, or that's where I learned what. It mortified me, it terrified me. The scene with there's a bit of an homage in the novelization to and maybe I'm making too much out of this scene, but when he crashes and he falls on the horn and it's just like sounding off into the distance, you know, and then it stops. I had to go to the bathroom. I was like terrified. And then I watched Halloween 3, which all my friends were very disappointed in because, you know, it didn't have Michael, but I just loved Halloween 3 so much. And then I went to 2 and then I watched the original, which is just, you know, I love all the sequels. I celebrate the whole, you know, the whole series, but
well, so you went in reverse. You got a unique perspective. So
and then I subsequently saw all the rest in the theater,
right?
You know, but yeah, that first one is just on. I mean, John Carpenter's on another level, and I still, you know, everybody knows it's a masterpiece, it's a classic, and I still don't think that's like strong enough praise for that movie for what they pulled off in that short amount of time with that budget, and pretty much just starting out. I mean, he was already a masterful director, you know, like 3 movies in. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You can feel, I think, your love for Halloween 3 in Halloween Ends, not only with obviously, and by the way, for anybody watching this, I think you probably know this, but spoilers probably abound for Halloween Ends. But
wait, what? I haven't seen it yet.
She hasn't seen it yet. But you know, with the opening titles, I think that was definitely obviously a call back to Halloween 3. And there's one specific thing I actually wanted to ask you about too, because in my mind, this could go back to Stonehenge and what happened in Halloween 3. There's this shot when they're in the cave in Halloween Ends, and right where Michael's hiding in that little hidey hole, whatever, on that concrete. I mean, it's clear as day. I mean, I've never seen Jesus in toast or anything, so I'm pretty sure I'm not crazy. But like that, I'm pretty sure Michael Myers' face was in that concrete there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. That's wild. I don't know. That's crazy. That whole set, walking into that set, and just, you know, it's built on Richard Wright and his team built this on a studio, and it was just so incredible to walk in and then see all the details, and everywhere you looked, there was something sort of like that, and each little detail had its own story, and it, you know, evoked our imagination further.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
So that's not like when you go into the book, there's not like and you see his face carved into the thing.
No,
yeah, you saw it because Mike kept talking about it. And I was like, I missed it. I didn't see it.
Did you? But do you see Michael in the cave? Like, do you see him like hunched down?
Yes.
Yes, that was amazing.
That's so cool.
That was amazing. It really was.
The first time I saw that, you know, the first time I actually saw a cut was at the Las Vegas test screening, and it was the greatest screening I've ever been to in my life. Oh my God. It was like 300 people and just screaming and crying and laughing. But that, when I saw that, I mean, there was a couple of moments where I had full, you know, like, how do you say this? Like politely, like full inflation, you know,
yes.
where I was like,
yes, I know what you mean. Yes. Fully erect.
Arousal's fine too. Arousal's totally fine.
I get you, yeah.
That whole sequence with James playing the shape in that sequence after he gets, I mean, spoiler alert, after he, you know, the cop, and he comes fully aroused as well.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, David, we watched that on the monitor when he was doing it, and he's like, is that too much? And I was like, I will give you everything I have if you keep that in there, because it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I love that scene so much.
It was absolutely incredible. That was a great scene. I remember everybody in the theater just being like, wow, that is, especially the way that the light caught him hiding in that little tunnel. It was so like, and I know it wasn't the same, but it kind of reminded me of like Batman or something emerging from the dark, or like hiding. It was really neat and cool to see. But speaking of that scene, I did want to ask the relationship between Corey and Michael. At least how I took it is that, you know, the Dracula novels have this relationship between Dracula and Renfield. There's like this master and like one that wants to please him, and he uses in a way to get what he needs from him. Was there any kind of like, because when I watched the movie, I kind of felt like Michael was like almost like a psychic vampire type of thing, you know, infecting this kid and then almost like getting him to do his bidding so that he could come back and be stronger than he was before. But I could have been reading way more into that than I wanted to. But I was reminded of the Dracula-Renfield relationship.
We talked so much about that relationship in this movie, for this movie. And maybe it was actually more so we talked about it with in regards to the Vagabond and Michael, which we you know, I take that much further in the book. There's a whole chapter about the Vagabond and who he is and his relationship to Michael. But I think what happened was, you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail with it, because I think, you know, we're all sort of serving David's vision in this. But that's what I was certainly, that's where my mindset was definitely that Renfield Dracula, but also, you know, I mean, there is a little bit of a mentor master dynamic there as well. Like, you know, hey, I'm new at this. Like, show me the ropes. You're the, you know,
right? Yeah,
you're the guy.
Yeah. Like an Obi-Wan Kenobi type of thing.
Yeah,
Corey's, yeah. He's not seen many horror movies either himself. He's like, what do I do with this knife, Mike? Yeah. Can you please show me what's going on here?
Yeah, 2 days ago I had glasses, you know, and now I'm like a stud on a motorcycle.
Yes.
Yeah. That scene in particular also. And that's what the stuff in the cave was like. It was legit some of my favorite. That was so exciting. It's specifically like the recharge scene or scene or whatever you want to call it. Like when he starts shaking like that and starts doing that, I was like, is he? Because, and they mentioned this in Halloween Kills, she says the more he kills, the more he transcends. But you never know, is this just an eloquent way of putting this, or is this specifically speaking to how he survives these things and whatnot? Do you think in your mind that was like, was he gaining power from killing again, or was he just super excited?
I think what I love about Michael is that he is so inexplicable and so mysterious that you know, obviously defining him is terrible and nobody wants to do that, and we all want to have our own ideas about it, but I always think that Michael thrives on fear. You know, I think he really I don't know why, and I don't know what is in his mind about that, but I think there is something about thriving on fear. And so the second he's feeling that fear, it's like that's what's charging him in my mind. I mean, I think the murder is fun for him, you know, and his arts and crafts, you know, but I think it's that.
Love the arts and crafts.
The more of it is available for him, the fear he's able to feed on. And I
you know, I sort of thought that's what Laurie was talking about in Halloween Kills. As far as now Michael's gone. He's disappeared, but he's in the soil, he's in the air, he's infecting everybody. You know, almost being gone is for the town just as devastating as Michael just. You know, if he kills you, you're gone. You're dead. You don't have to deal with it. If you don't know where he is, you're looking over your shoulder, or after 4 years, he's in the back of your mind subconsciously that you've forgotten he's even there, but he's still resonating somewhere in your psyche.
I agree.
That makes a lot of sense when you go into like how the town of Haddonfield's dealing with this, and Oscar's mom and all the stuff they were showing in that open for sure. Do you think that, I mean, and I swear I'll leave the cave at some point. I've been in there in my head longer than Michael was between movies. But one of the most fascinating scenes, I'd be remiss not to at least bring it up. When he grabs him and that the camera zooms into the eye, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, we're about to go uncharted territory for sure. And it was a crazy moment that I loved experiencing the first time. Is that, in your mind, do you think that that's I couldn't tell, was he getting something from Corey? Was he giving something to Corey? Did he see, somehow he saw in his eyes what he'd been through and that the trauma that he'd gone through and all that stuff like that? What was in your all's minds when you were writing that scene?
Well, again, you know, I think David probably has his very specific ideas, and I actually get a little more explicit with it in the book, so it's just my take on it. And in the way I view Michael within this movie and in the book as having the power to awake the evil within. So whether it's buried, and maybe we all have some element of that within our systems, and he's just there to say like, oh, you know, come on out, let's see what. But you know, I don't think his intention is like, hey, I'm strangling you, I'm bringing it out of you. I just think that's an effect. I think Michael's trying to kill him personally. You know, it's just Corey it's unleashing this evil inside of him. He's absorbing the blackest eyes. He's absorbing that quality, you know.
Almost like Michael sensed some kind of echo of evil in him and maybe recognized something in that, and then saw something when Corey was embracing it rather than struggling against it, and maybe let him live for that reason. I
mean, possibly. Again, you know, I don't want to get in trouble.
I know. I'm not. This is just my own. I'm just extrapolating my own stuff.
I've been getting in trouble all week for all sorts of stuff, so I'm just like trying to play it cool.
How much? I get you, man. How much communication goes on though behind the scenes with the other writers and David and the director? Is it pretty much open communication lines? Like, you know, let's change this, let's do this, and
I mean, and David's so fluid. You know, so whenever we went, we sort of brainstormed the story for about 4 weeks there in Charleston, and then we came back to our respective homes. That time I was living in Los Angeles, and we sort of just wrote out the script, sent it around to each other, and I think we finished the first draft in May of 2019 or so. And then from there, I don't know. I mean, David and I were working on it pretty much every day since that point.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, I was telling somebody the other day, I have over 400 drafts of this screenplay in my computer, and that was in my computer crashed at some point, so I don't know what I had before then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally like every scene we would like take the scene and then do the opposite and see which one resonated more with us. I mean, there's so many variations of this. I mean, from the ending to everything. There were characters that were brought in, taken out, brought back in. And then I was there when we were shooting the movie, and it was the same thing. Every night David would be like, why don't you take the script home, let's look at the scene tomorrow, see what you can do. And then, certain things, you show up on set one day and it's like, well, this set doesn't quite look the same, doesn't look like what we thought it would be. It's going to be difficult to convey this in a performance, so we're going to need to rewrite this. So, I mean, we wrapped in March, and I continued writing, oh my God, up until, I don't know, August.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Man, you put the work in for sure. You put the work in.
I mean, it's just, I think both of us, like, we just love, we had an extra year because of COVID. And then it was just like, oh, we can keep, because David was already in pre-production in the fall of 2020. And he was, rehearsing with Andy and Rowan and stuff. And it seemed like, they were waiting to see if Kills was going to be released in the theater or not. And then he was going to shoot it. And then once they decided to delay Kills, we're like, well, let's just delay the shooting. And so,
which could, I mean, it sucks that, things got delayed, but that does give you a little bit more time to go back to the drawing table and just be like, well,
I mean, I would be curious to know what it would have, I mean, I like what we did. And I saw it I drove back from LA on Saturday and stopped in Tucson and watched it just at like a random theater. And, just outside of the perspective of being involved with it, I just enjoyed it as like a really cool, like sexy Halloween movie.
Yeah.
But, I do want to say, like, because one of my friends texted me and he's like, I want to see, you got to let me read the script where it all took place in the same night as 2018. And I told him, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he sent me all these links to like a story about all three were taking place on the same night. And we never even like discussed that idea. So it was always the beginning part of this was always David wanted to be set in whatever year we were going to release it. And he wanted to see where Laurie Strode was a few years away from 2018, just to pick up and see where the emotion was for her and Allison.
Yeah. Well,
that makes sense. And that harkens back to the end of Kills, the original ending of Kills. She's like, I'm coming to get you, motherfucker, or whatever. And she takes the knife, and then you're like, well, I guess that would confuse people because we already have this planned distance between dates.
Yeah, me and Chris, the other writer, we went to the test screening and whenever that it was, right before the pandemic, February of 2020, and it finished, and we were like, oh, I guess David, we got to rewrite the opening of this movie. Like that ending is like, we got to go right from there to gotta follow her out of the hospital.
Yeah,
I do love that ending. I think it's so cool. I love Kills unabashedly. I think it's so wildly entertaining. It's like just a violent orgy. I
agree.
I think it's so beautiful. Michael Simmons' cinematography is like, and I really think this art movie is really, really great looking as well. God, he's so good.
It's a beautiful movie, man. That's one thing I really enjoy about Ends. It seems like the camera work is just gorgeous, and the cinematography and all that.
Yeah,
and the soundtrack.
Like a fan, I'm a fan of it now because that soundtrack is just, I mean, again, the scene with James in that cave, the music, the score is like incredible. But when Corey is leaving the cave and like Michael sort of like rotates the camera just slightly, and so Corey's like in the tunnel, and oh my God, I just love it. Yeah,
there's so much beautiful scenery in that entire movie, and it had like a very cohesive, despite what you want to say about the movie and like all the different stuff we're doing, just the look and the feel of it felt more connected, I feel like, than any of them did. But speaking of all the changes in Jamie Lee Curtis and all stuff like that, so she's obviously, this is kind of the second time she's been through not this movie, but this idea, the ending of Laurie Strode. And she's going to feel, we all know that she feels so much possession over the character, and rightfully so. After what happened with H2O and her thinking she was making one movie, and then they made another one, then they had to do Resurrection. Was there any time where she was giving notes back to you guys and like on how her character was going to end, and like you would write it one way and maybe she would check it over and see if she okayed it or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, Jamie, I think she sort of trusts David implicitly. And so whatever David said, I feel this is what it needs to be, she was on board with. She would have an idea for her character. I think it was her who really wanted to put her hand in that garbage disposal. I remember David telling me that. She's like, she really wanted to stick her hand in that garbage disposal.
Oh.
Like to have it actually hit.
I think
like
so. Yeah, I think
it's only fair. He's missing some digits. I'll miss some digits, and then we'll even up the playing field. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, you know, I did have a question as far as like, so this is the end of this trilogy that David put together. And you know, you wrote what was the as far as one of the biggest challenges that you had to face, or at least one of them, anyways, like I'm saying, for the last movie in a trilogy. Like, what's one thing? Is it the ending? Is it the, you know, how do you get the beginning? And what is it that really just is like, what are we going to do here? It's a third movie in a trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really overwhelming sort of situation to be in, right? Especially for something like this. So the ending is like, yeah, something that we worked on. I mean, oh my God, we're still working on it until David went to do reshoots and reshot the ending. But I think, you know, to be honest with you, like, one of the challenges was just figuring out what the story was we were going to tell with this final movie. And at the end of the day, I think what we really wanted to do was tell a story that we just felt compelled to tell. I think if, and maybe this is, I don't know how other people work, but I think if you go in and you're like, okay, my aim is I'm just going to try to satisfy everybody with everything. And with this Halloween franchise, you're satisfying, 4 different sorts of fans. You've got the zombie fans, you've got the Cult of Thorn fans, you've got the OG purist fans, you've got the Season of the Witch weirdos, and which is me. I mean, I'm part of that.
Yeah.
So we had this opening idea, this opening scene. And then that just sort of inflamed us. And then at that point, we were more or less in service of that story and just trying to tell that story as best as we could, trying to satisfy some expectations, but not trying to be overwhelmed with, because it's a very overwhelming, you could just sit there and just be buried under the weight of those expectations and never get anything done. You just kind of have to say, okay, this is what we feel strong about. We love these characters, and this is how we want to go out. So that's what we decided on.
Yeah, I don't envy you that position at all. Like taking on that type of like lore and legend, that would be, that's hard for anybody. I mean, that's, for me, it'd be the equivalent of saying, let's write a new Star Wars movie or like there's such hardcore fans in a lot of those genres that you're right. You're never going to please everybody. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So yeah, I agree.
At a certain point, you've just got to put your heart into it, and you've got to do something that's meaningful to you, and you feel passionate about, and you just have to let the chips fall where they may. And I that's the kind of filmmaking and the films that I love are those films that are made like that. And regardless of what people make of the end product, I hope that there's lasting images and moments that people won't soon forget. I mean, I even parts where I've seen some questions about Michael standing in the cave when Corey comes through at the end. And I think and there's something about it that I just love. I'm like, it's so weird and wild, and I will never forget that image of Michael just standing there, just like, here I am, like come and try.
Yeah,
I think and honestly, man, I have two different versions in my head of the film. There's the version where I understand where like you said, fans that want a particular thing, right? And like, is this movie about the conclusive trilogy, or is this movie about this just one movie? And I understand where people are upset about certain things, about certain things didn't get concluded. And then on the other hand, there's a huge part of me that is just like, I just dig how fucking weird this is, like I'm into that. was telling somebody, I was like, I just think it's kind of fucking punk rock, and like I'm into that. So, how are you doing with all that, man? Because I know that the fan base is crazy, and the response that's got to be at times elating, and at times that's got to be pretty rough. You know, people just picking apart your work.
Yeah, no, I mean it's cool. I mean it's fun. I mean, you know, I grew up skateboarding in the 80s in a small Texas town, so I'm used to being bullied, and so I'm you know, I feel like I'm very sensitive, but you know, that stuff is like whatever. I try not to let it get to me. But
we grew up in Kentucky, so I feel you on that.
Yeah, I read comic books in Kentucky, dude. My middle name was being bullied.
When that was something that
it was not. Yeah, it was not popular. It was before the MCU. So if you said you read comic books or like Star Wars, no, sir.
Yeah. No, but it's been great. I mean, you know, just the fact that to make something that people are interested in and that is leading to conversations. And, you know, I mean, I would hope that people wouldn't be so mean to one another and could just discuss things civilly and be excited about something and to be excited about something wild and something a little different. You know, I mean, I grew up on the Raiders of the Lost Ark trilogy, and those movies to me were always very different. You know, I mean, they had the same characters, but they were like each movie was very much its own thing tonally and stylistically. And I sort of grew up loving that. That was the franchise that I responded to, you know, as a child. So I didn't really see any difference between David's trilogy. Obviously, he's telling a much more cohesive story than you know, Indiana Jones is. But there was something about that I thought about when watching 2018 and then Kills. It was like, oh, these could be standalone weird movies, you know, on their own. This is, you know, Raiders Lost Ark. This is Temple of Doom. And then, I mean, I don't think we're Last Crusade, but. And maybe I open myself up to some other stuff, so I'm just gonna stop there. But yeah,
I never thought about that. That's true though. Like, yeah, the Indiana Jones trilogy, in of itself, obviously they are like they're cohesive, but they are by themselves self-contained as well. So yeah, I mean, exactly. I agree. That's actually a really good analogy. I never thought of it that way. That really is true. Because if you watch Halloween 2018. You know, you get your single story there, but it also flows into Halloween Kills. But that's also it could be contained as well and be its own thing. And then Halloween Ends, while it is ending that trilogy, could it be? It's actually that's a great analogy. Really is good.
The whole Halloween series is more or less like that. I mean, I think Halloween 2 is pretty close to what Carpenter did in '78. Yeah. And then we're just all over the place, whether you like them or not. You know, if you go from 4 to 5, and you're like, whoa, what? And then 6, huh? And then you know,
It's true.
And we're fans of the Weird and the Halloween franchise. I mean, like Halloween 4 is one of our favorites. Halloween 6 is one of mine and Jay's favorites. That movie's got a million problems. I just love how crazy it is, you know. And yeah, it's just it's fun, and that's the way I saw this too. I saw it as a whole. When you go back, for me personally, as a Halloween fan, I wasn't needing this to be a perfect capper to this trilogy as much as I just wanted a fun entry into the whole Halloween universe. You know what I mean? So, and I hope you know that when you hear what you hear, because I know how that is. I mean, just our opinions of the movie are getting us crazy ass messages and things like that. But like, so I'm sympathetic to how that must feel, and I hope you know that like it's not like you set out to make, you know, a fan service film and failed at that. You know, you set out to make your movie, and you did. So I honestly never once considered that we were doing anything that was going to be that bold or ambitious. I just thought we were making, and those are the good adjectives. I just chose the two good ones that I've heard. But I never knew we were doing anything that would even lead to this much discussion. I just thought we were telling this cool end of David's movies, you know, and I'm sure somebody's going to pick up the torch and, you know, and I hope they do. I love Michael, you know, he's a universal monster to me at this point. He's Dracula, he's the Mummy, he's Frankenstein. And I want to see as much as I want to see. I mean, I wish they would make more of the Dracula movies too. You know, I love those monsters. They're needed. We need, I mean, good Lord, like quit suing all those people and like let us see a Friday the 13th already. It's ridiculous.
Oh man, yes, preaching to the choir here. Actually, that leads me to a question. Would you like to work on something like that if it ever got untangled from that legal battle? Something like Friday the 13th.
I honestly don't know about like when it comes to genre stuff like that. I mean, of course, I would love to, but I just feel like everything is so weirdly polarizing these days.
It really is.
It's going to be difficult for anybody, you know. I mean, I would love to, just because I love that was my first slasher series that I got into. So I have a very soft spot for that series, and it was like the one that I could like kind of just enjoy and not be quite as frightened. Halloween terrified me. You know, Friday the 13th is like, oh, I can have a good Friday night and go to bed. You know, like if I watch Friday the 13th, I'm gonna have to watch like Explorers or Back to the Future afterwards to like, you know, soothe my nerves. Yeah, but I would love to be a part of it. You know, if anybody wants to, I don't have an agent or a manager.
If it ever gets out of court hell, for sure.
I know it's ridiculous. I sometimes the industry stuff is so. I mean, I hate anything, even talking industry stuff. It's just so boring. I just wish we could all just go make things and like live happy lives. It's just lawyers and money and credits. Oh, it's just so.
Judge Judy's and Judge Wapner's everywhere. I mean, get out of here.
Yeah, and that's
I hate it too.
At least you guys didn't have to deal with the Weinsteins on this one, or the Weinsteins, or however you say their names.
Well, you know, with the book, I remember I brought it to David right when we started writing the script. I was like, let me write Laurie's memoirs. And then he was like, oh, you know, I'll bring it up. And Miramax puts that out. And he's like, I don't think they're going to let you. No. And so I didn't think they were going to let me. And I was like, oh, Miramax. But man, I mean, that was a cakewalk once they, I guess, agreed.
That by the way it's a good question. By the way, congratulations, the book is out today.
Congratulations.
My first published book. I'm very excited.
Hey, awesome.
And that's got to be more relaxing than having the movie released, you know, because I feel like that's just it's a whole different vibe with the book.
Yeah, only I can't hide behind David on this one. You know? It's just my name. I'm like, oh well.
Yeah, I just blame everything on Jay when something goes wrong, so it works for me.
That's all right. I take it.
I'm taking a trip to Barnes and Noble tomorrow to see if they have that and to buy that for sure. I really look forward to checking that out. Is there? I'm guessing there's an expansion on a lot of stuff in the book.
Oh, Mike, you don't even know. It's half the book is extra material. Half the book is not in the movie.
Oh shit! Nice.
Yeah, wow. It's like really. I mean, like I just wanted to write a book. I mean, I've written a couple of books. I've self-published them. 15 people have read them. But this one, I was like, I love novelizations, but I just want to write a book. And so I'm going to take everything. So I'm writing Laurie's memoirs. I'm doing flashbacks to like 78 and 1981 and 1982. And, you know, getting to see characters from the past, you know, who come back, and then really expanding on scenes, giving characters their own chapters, like the Vagabond or Diana Prince, who plays Susan. I think she thinks she's a receptionist at the radio station with Willie the Kid, but she's actually the assistant station manager. And so she gets her own chapter. I mean, I only had 5 weeks to write it, and I would just like lost my mind doing it. I put everything I could into it. It's really wild. I'm very excited about it.
Paul, what would be one thing from your book that you've wrote that you would love to be like if it had got like been put in the movie? One thing from your book, because you know you're saying this book is so full and chock full of so many extra juicy things. If you got to pick one thing,
interesting. Because I kind of show how Michael gets from the end of 2018 to where he ends up in ours, and so. Maybe one of those scenes, but then I love Lindsay, and I was able to really like give some scenes to Lindsay. So there's like just a scene of Lindsay and Allison hanging out that I like those emotional, intimate. My favorite scene that I got to write was the Hawkins and Laurie in the grocery store. I really like those really human moments within like a genre movie.
That was beautiful in the movie, by the way. That was a great scene.
Yeah, and I just love Will Patton. He's just such an effortless actor, and I wish he would have been around for more of the movie.
Yeah, I think we were when he supposedly died in 2018. We were pissed. We're like,
I was not happy about that.
No, it's Will Patton. Happy to see him come back. Speaking of that, with him. And with several characters and several things that were playing out in Kills, going into Ends. One of those things was the whole situation with him and his cop character in the window, and when Michael would stare out the window and what that meant. And there was so much talk amongst people like, what does that mean? Is that something that, A, in the book is expanded on, and B, was there at some point going to be something in the movie that had to do with that window that explained that further?
Again, when it comes to Michael, I think the important thing, or the thing that I think we always talked about, was it's okay if people are are questioning those things. You know, as long as we're not being explicit with what Michael's intentions are, I think it's just the characters are explaining those things. Sure, Michael's in the window, but just because he's there doesn't mean that what, you know, the officers in the flashback are saying means anything, or you know what I mean? Like when they were saying they just wanted to go home. I mean, everybody's speculating, which is like, I think sort of all of us when it comes to the mythology of Michael Myers, we're all just like, well, is he human or is he supernatural? Is he this or is he that? Why does he do these things? Why does he go home? So it's fine, I think, if people are questioning his motivations and intentions. And there is, you know, and the way I sort of like approached that stuff in the book was more from other characters. So I think Corey is like an interesting character to like, let's maybe explore some of those ideas about Michael through this character. So I go a little bit further with just through Corey's behavior and some extra scenes with him. Maybe that are a little bit more my what I was thinking in regards to those stories about the window and what Michael's doing and what he's thinking and those things.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, and we've always said too, like even sometimes when you think something's going to go there and you think about it and you're expecting it to come up, you're like, and I always say this when we're discussing Michael in these scenes, it's like some of the funnest parts of Michael Myers are the ambiguity and the things that get you talking. I think John Carpenter started that in the original when this guy seems supernatural. And I think adding on that it's pretty fun to me. You know what I mean? Like I like it when that happens. Some people get frustrated and that's fine, but I get where you're coming from on that. Like the mystery of Michael is the whole, it's kind of like the best thing about him.
Yeah, keep people guessing whether or not he is, you know, exactly supernatural or human. But I will ask you, Paul, what do you think? Do you think, it's just your opinion, is he supernatural?
I think honestly, this is like it's not a BS like trying to skirt this answer. I think he straddles the line. I think that's what it is. It's like, oh my God, he's exhibiting human traits. He's bleeding. He's, you know, you can stab him and he'll fall down. He's obviously feeling some sort of like his nerves are hurting from these injuries, but then he's putting tombstones in people's beds.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It almost feels like the evil within, like, because Dr. Loomis had mentioned that before, the evil within Michael was pure. And it was like this, but you know, the human being that was Michael Myers is containing this like corrosive type of thing. And eventually that body will fall apart because it can only hold so much. But the evil inside is the actual, I mean, I'm getting real like super deep into it.
But it's fun to do that.
That's what I love. Yes.
Yeah, same here. And I guess it's spoiled. I mean, Loomis is in the book. And I'm very excited because he's just.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
I mean, that character, he's my favorite character in the world. I love Dr. Loomis. And I have show what his relationship with Laurie, you know, after 78. I just love that character. And yeah, exactly. So I was able to bring in his ideology and philosophy about Michael into this. It was just fun.
Yeah, Paul, you were selling the shit out of this book right
now.
I'm
gonna buy it.
Not like on purpose. I'm just saying, like, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. The more and more you talk about it,
I'm very excited. I mean, I wrote it while we were shooting the movie. You know, they only gave me 5 weeks, and we were shooting the movie, and that was like the extent of the shoot. So I was like there on set every day, like with my, you know, I write it in a notebook first, and then transcribe it. So I was like, you know, with my computer in the like little tent, like just okay, cut, and I'd be like trying to type out a chapter.
That's the best inspiration you could have is like watching that and be like, oh shit, it'd be cool if we did this right now.
Or I'd show up and be like, wow, man, I kind of like the way I had this scene. I'm just gonna like see if they don't, you know, tell me to change it or anything.
That's awesome.
I think every writer should do that. They should have every writer of one of these movies do their own novelization. That's dope.
Yeah, but I didn't know that like a lot of times like with novelizations they like are very like strict on what they allow in, and I was like, I would have thrown a stubborn like a hissy fit had they been like, no, you can't put this scene in. I would have like been like, well, I don't want to do the book thing. I'm out.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
You have a very I've been just like it's insane to me. I'm a huge Green Day fan. You have a total fucking Billy Joe. Does people tell you that? Like you have a total Billy Joe Armstrong vibe about you.
Well,
I love it.
You know, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, but in 1994, you know, I mean, they're one of my favorite bands in the world. I love Green Day. But yeah, I would get that in '94 a whole lot when my hair was a little bit, now it's kind of gray and old. I'm old, but back then, yeah, it was cool.
Hey,
I love.
He's getting up there.
Yeah.
Well, you look good, man. You don't look old at all, no doubt.
Oh, thanks. And you guys look beautiful.
Oh, thanks, man. My wife told me, she was like, you talking to, and I was like, yeah, it's, this guy. She looked at, she's like, oh my God, he's adorable.
Oh, get out of here. Come on now. Oh my goodness.
Paul, what if you were going to tell someone what is harder to write? I mean, and I can only take my guess, but a script or a novel?
A script.
100%.
Without, I mean, the novels, you're writing it. It's like so fun, and I love it. And I've been writing scripts since I was, my first what I considered my first script was when I was 9. But it was only 9 pages long, and I sent it to Amblin Entertainment, so Steven Spielberg would produce it. He didn't, and nor did he send me, because it was on a typewriter. Nor did he send me my deal back, my script back, so it's gone forever. It was about runaways. It was so cool. I used the Back to the Future soundtrack to score it. And cool, but then a year later, I got a letter from Amblin Entertainment, and I opened it up, and it was a goddamn picture of E.T. with like an autograph of Steven Spielberg. And I was
my God,
I cried, I wept, I was so angry because I knew that meant he wasn't doing my movie. My brother was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and I was like, "Oh, this is bullshit."
Where's my script? I bet I see it in 10 years, like in a marquee somewhere, and I watch it on the screen. I'm like, hey, I got this picture of ET. It's great.
Thanks for applying. Go fuck off. Here's an autograph by Steven.
What? By the way, so I don't know. We're veering all over the place here, like we always do.
That's me.
No, it's our fault. No, we do it. That's what we always do. That's the funnest part of it. I gotta ask though, because I cannot let you get out of here without asking this question, because it was tripping me the hell out in the movie theater. The scene where Corey's sleeping on the blood spot, which is totally fucked up, on the blood spot in the house, and Laurie's sitting there talking to him. Like, in your mind, was she actually there? Because I can't figure it out. I'm like, maybe she was there for a minute, but that second half of the conversation seemed like it took place in his head while he was losing it.
Interesting. Yeah, David, sometimes he can film stuff where it's like, yeah, you can take something away from that. I never thought about that. So I guess that maybe gives my answer. But, I mean, I kind of thought she was there.
Okay. It sucks. I've been arguing with she wasn't there the whole time.
Well, I feel because Mike was saying, she got out of that room so quick, and the window was open. Yeah. But here's the thing, though. I mean, at that time, though, Corey was turning and like doing his whole he was giving monologue. A speech about and then it would have given her enough time. In her mind, she'd have been like, I'm not going to get through to him. It's over. I'm just going to sneak out the way I came in, and while he's like rattling on. So the volume
of her voice to me at first sounded normal, and then when he snapped, right when she started saying you can't have her or whatever, and she started to get angry, the pitch of her voice sounded like it did when she was writing her memoirs again to me. Like the pitch changed. So I
get what you're saying. Is
this actually happening? Interesting. Wait, Mike, how do you pronounce memoirs?
He did it again.
Shit.
Yeah, I love that. Is it memoirs?
We just had a whole conversation about this literally last night. I also don't know what penultimate means, because I've said that about 62 times and said it wrong. What was it?
Memoir.
Memoir. I guess it's probably French. I don't know.
Wait, how do you say it? Someone say it right.
Memoir.
What was I saying? Memoir?
Memoir. I can't take no memoir. I can't take it. Memoir. And then you said something else that was I don't remember what it was.
Linear.
Yeah, you said linear.
Yeah, that's
linear.
Yeah, I like that. Linear and memoir. I'm going to use those. I like your pronunciation. I appreciate them.
I put on glasses and I try to start saying smart words. It doesn't exactly work.
I mean, I'm blind, but yeah. But no, I think the book, it goes into a little bit more explicit stuff about that scene and the preceding scenes to that lead to that moment in the book. So it's maybe a little more explicit in the book, but I totally can see now you're saying that. I totally know what you're saying, especially that her vocal cadence of that is almost like a little bit in another realm or something.
I could be wrong about that, but that's the way I took it the few times I've seen it. So I'll have to go back and watch it, and it won't be there this time. It'll be like, damn, I feel stupid. But
no. That's what's great about movies, is to have those things. I mean, I wish I wasn't here to spoil that for you.
Hey, I asked. It's my own damn problem. I asked. Oh shit.
Well, I was going to ask, what, like, in your opinion, Paul,
Mhm.
and since you wrote, you helped write this and you worked on it, and there was a lot of creative people working on this as well. In your opinion, what do you think, just again, your own opinion, what do you think Laurie felt about Corey? Did he look like a project that she could help him and save him? Or was she just interested in keeping him away from Allison the entire time? Like, I don't.
Right. Because those things were changing whenever we were, I feel like there was a big change. We changed so much stuff, and there was stuff that was changing, right before you're shooting. And now looking back on it, I see something that makes sense to me. And that was two babysitters who experienced unspeakable tragedies on very different scales, and both innocent to some degree, based on whatever the story you're telling yourself or what you're believing the people are saying. So I think she saw, and maybe it's the same thing Allison saw, is like, oh God, this kid experienced a tragedy, and we know how it is to experience a tragedy in this town, and it's difficult, and we know what that's like. We've been there. We're broken by it, and I think Laurie is a big-hearted, good person, and then I think she notices that change in his his shape. I think she notices that. She sees, like, looking. I think it's more than just her looking down and seeing Corey looking up like Myers in '78. I think she recognizes that look in his eyes that lets her know that something is different here. Something has seismically changed within this kid, and that's what leads her to. And I think she still wants to help him, but I think at that point she's like, I've lost everybody in my life. I'm going to do anything I can to protect my granddaughter.
Yeah, like a camaraderie through tragedy type of thing. And then, when they made that eye contact, I mean, they filmed it really great. You could tell the way that Laurie looks at him is like, I've seen that look before.
Yeah.
There's something dead behind the eyes. It's not, you're not there anymore. You've allowed this evil to kind of like bubble over the top, and now this is who you are.
Yeah.
Like,
and maybe there could be a little
Christmas. So it's like me when I look at my credit card statement after Christmas.
Yeah, 100%. I hate those bills.
I
spent what? But yeah, it was like I agree. That great explanation. 100%.
Yeah.
I think same thing kind of too. I feel like about with Laurie and Corey, or Laurie and Corey's connection. I don't know if you guys know this, but in an alternate cut, they had sex. No, Allison and Corey.
Damn, that sounds fucking
wild. Got weird. Yeah, it got weird.
Yeah,
so Allison's looking in the window, or Laurie's looking in the window, and Allison leads Corey upstairs. But in the alternate cut, I don't know if you know this, Laurie goes in the house, and then you know what? Allison and Corey's connection was so deep, and I really enjoyed that, because like the minute she saw him and she knew his story. This is Allison, who doesn't, like, she's one of the few characters. She doesn't really wear her emotions on her sleeve the way that like Laurie does. She seems like she compartmentalizes it a lot. And I think that's great acting by Andy Matichek, by the way. But the way that she instantly just decides, like, this is my person, like, this is the person that I'm connected to, because I know what he's been through, and I've been through shit, and maybe he's the only person who can understand how fucked up my life is. That's the way I saw that. I don't know if that's how, when you were writing it, what you were thinking.
I mean, with Allison's, it's sort of one of my favorite characters in this. She is my favorite character in this trilogy.
Yes,
I always wanted like a big sister. So she's sort of like, I mean, I'm much older than her, so she's like my big little sister. So I got, but I love her, and I think the way I describe it in the book is that after Karen passes, after Karen's killed, she's locked inside a hum, like a void. And that exactly how you described it. I don't think she has those feelings, but not really access to, like, outwardly, discussing them like Laurie does, or writing them. And I think Corey offers her like a safe place to just be, where she doesn't quite have to be as guarded and push those whatever feelings, like those difficult, challenging feelings, or her vengeful and bitter feelings, and I don't think she has to hold those down with Corey. She can let them out.
That's where the burn it down stuff comes from and things like
Yeah.
that. I think some people thought that was like weird and out of place, but that's part of the thing I dug. I was like, I get that. Like it's one of those intense ass relationships, like from the get.
It's just
throughout the entire movie, she looks like she's barely keeping it in. She's barely keeping it in, and you know it's always like one moment before it just snaps out. But yeah, it was Allison's a great character. She was a great character when they introduced her in 2018. She developed and did even more in Kills, and then Ends. I just think overall it was just a wonderfully written character, and I think a lot of people connected with her in much the same way they connected with Jamie Lee Curtis in 1978 when she played Laurie Strode.
Well, I remember even telling David, like, you know, in after watching that cut of 2018, the summer of 2018, and telling him, I was like, you know, 2018 is definitely Laurie's story. I think Halloween Kills, you should try to do that as Karen's story, and then let's do Halloween Ends as Allison's story. You know, I mean, I wish the movie was 4 hours long, but the book, I feel like the book, and I've told Andy this, is a love letter to Allison and what she did with that character, and I'm able to go a little bit more into her interiority and, you know, really get to sit with her feelings and emotions, and very excited about that. I love her. I mean, and Rowan. I mean, I love the whole cast. They're wonderful. Rowan especially. Rowan's so good. He's just, oh my God.
Yeah, he was great. He was really good.
So cool.
Yeah.
I keep comparing his story and that and part of the vibe of all that and his acting too to Jake Gyllenhaal in Donnie Darko. Like I just got those vibes from him.
I can see that.
Yeah, it reminded me of that so much. So I was totally on board with it.
Yeah.
He's got a vulnerable like something about him that's vulnerable. So you're able to, like, you know, connect with him as an audience member and like follow his story really well. And he's written well. So, you know,
that he has.
Yeah. No, it was so fun. And, you know, I got to choreograph the dance. I mean, I was only going to talk about the marinara on the milk glass and the choreography of the dance, because David put strobe lights on it and he cuts that dance up, but I choreographed, like, I'm not a dancer. And he was like, hey, do you want to choreograph this dance? And I said, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I spent like 10 hours on a Sunday, like choreographing both of their moves, and then had to go, you know, work the performance out with them. And that was my favorite thing I've ever done in my entire life.
So he just randomly, in the same spirit that John Carpenter went up to Nick Castle once and was like, hey, just walk. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking me? Oh, you want to just walk? How you want me to walk? He just went up to you and was like, hey, do you want to do the dance scene?
Yeah, that's David. I mean, I feel like David and John share a lot of similarities as far as the way they approach these things and their spirit and David's, you know, he's working with the same sound mixer since college, Chris Kubert and Richard Wright, his production designer. Like, you know, these are people that have been friends of ours for over 20 years now.
Well, the dance room scene was actually interesting because the foreshadowing that is there when Allison puts the hands, when she puts her hands on his face, and then when he's dying, it was so well done. It was I was like, that's incredible.
Well, I choreographed their dance based on their relationship, so it's like it's totally an interpretive dance. You can't. I don't know if you can. You obviously you can get that maybe from the end of it, but their whole thing is about their entire relationship. I did it like beat by beat, so every move that they're doing is where they are in their relationship. I was
that's amazing.
Very proud of it.
That's deep as fuck.
I love it.
I think they're gonna put it on a DVD or something. I'm gonna call it Universal. Yeah.
Well, it was also tense too, because like every time he would go over to that pool table, there was something tense about when he would set his shit down. And there's like, I think I don't how that works. Maybe it's from you growing up in Texas and us growing up in Kentucky. I'm like, you don't put your shit on a pool table in the middle of a bar.
That's breaking the law.
I was waiting on somebody to come up and beat his ass. Right.
That whole scene to me just feels so violent. Like the way they're dancing, the way David's cutting, everything. There's just such a strong sense of violence in the air, and then it culminates with you know, running into Miss Jeremy's mom, Mrs. Allen, at the bar there, played by Candace, who's incredible, and that whole scene. And I don't know if you can hear it, but she's yelling, you know, that innocent people don't do that, evil people do, and it's just like permeating in his mind. I love that scene.
It's a great scene.
It was really good.
And then the milk, I mean, the spaghetti sauce on it, which was like, you know, I saw this Charles Bronson movie when I was a kid, and I feel like a child dropped a spaghetti noodle into his milk, and it traumatized me. I drink milk when I eat my spaghetti, and so I was so happy. I was like, David, the only scene of mine you have to leave in here is putting marinara on Joan's cup.
to give you guys watching some background information on this, when I was watching this at home, I freeze framed the shot of she puts the glass down and the marinara is on the milk glass, and I put that on Twitter and I was like, this is scarier than anything else in the movie. Like, who eats spaghetti and drinks milk and does that? And you commented like childhood trauma, I think, on that Twitter post. And I was like, I totally forgot about that. I was like, I need to ask him about that, because that was like, there was something haunting about that. Just the sauce on the side of the cup and her whole thing.
Well, if you look at it, like, you know, it almost looks like it's an unbalanced. Like, she's unbalanced, and you can tell, like, just like the sloppy way that you would drink. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was
very unnerving. I mean, I had to drink milk with every meal up until I was like, I think my dad said I could drink water when I was 15. And so
your bones must be strong, sir.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe. But I've got a lot of plaque in my arteries and stuff. But
that's true. That's not
so
good.
spaghetti suppers were the worst, because I can't think of anything more horrific than spaghetti and milk. But Italian people do it. I've seen it. I've seen lots of people do it. My friends do it. They'll send me pictures when they're having spaghetti, and they'll like to mess with me because they know it's like a thing.
That's so cool. Like, it not only explains, like, I think people forget the souls of people that they put into the movies that they write and things like that. Those little tiny things come from like deep ass places that.
The Drumline Bullies, they're named after my bullies in high school. You know,
were they marching band bullies in your high school, by the way? Were they in the marching band?
Yeah.
There you go. There's this whole big hub. I was like, why are the bullies marching band? And my explanation is that it was like, hey man, like, dicks come in all shapes and sizes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
thank you.
Well, that's interesting, because actually Wes Craven named Freddy Krueger after someone that bullied or terrified him in high school.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Freddy, or I think Freddy, or at least the name Freddy.
I don't think he used the actual.
No, not his actual name, but I think Freddy was the name of the guy. But yeah,
it was literally Robert Englund. Like, he cast.
Yeah, it was Robert Englund. Robert Englund was kicking his ass all over. Yeah, he was just beating the shit out of him.
That's amazing, dude. Hey, man, honest to God, like, I feel like we could talk to you forever. This has been really fun.
Yeah, y'all are my new best friends. I love y'all.
We love you too, man.
Same.
If you'd like to, after we read the book, because we do it with the novelizations. Every time we'll do like an every difference between the book and the movie thing, and we'll do a video on it. After we've checked it out, man, if you ever want to come back on and talk about the book, solely the book, and really get deep into some of the stuff about that, we'd love to have you on anytime.
Yeah. I watched Tim Wagner from Kills on this, and that's where I was like, I could never write a novelization, because he said that he only had a little bit of time, and I like to take like 6 months to write a book. But yeah, I would love to do that. That'd be fun.
And it was probably cool for you, by the way, that like I was so not weirded out by it, but it was like it for him. For both the guys that wrote before you, that had to be so weird, like writing a book on a script and not being involved.
Don't know how I didn't even reference the script, honestly. I mean, I had it memorized, but I didn't even reference it.
You wrote it 400 times, so yeah.
Yeah, I just started from page 1 and just wrote a book.
Well, you're a talented man, Paul, man, and we were so happy and blessed to have you on.
Oh, thank you. It's been wonderful. I love this. Yeah.
It was great, man. It was good times, man.
Right.
Maybe if we're ever in your neck of the woods, you can teach us how to skateboard. Because
I'm like middle aged. I'll break.
That's all right. Hey, we'll do it together. We'll be like middle aged men together, trying to learn how to skateboard.
Come to El Paso, Texas.
Hey, let's do it.
We have friends in Texas. We need to go there at some point.
Yeah,
I'll hit you up if we do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Absolutely. I tried to skate. I pretended to skate. Did not go well. I broke bones when I was young skating.
And now I've built myself up as I'm like Eric Costin or something. Like my brother would tear me a new one if he hears. I mean, I can't show my brother this because he's gonna be like, you can't ollie, but like 2 inches off the ground, you're like bottom heavy. But yeah.
Yeah, I get you, man.
It's not about how good you are. It's the whole vibe of just like doing it.
That culture, man.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Dude, I can't wait to get the book tomorrow. I can't wait to read it. Congratulations. This is an awesome thing.
Man.
And thanks for taking the time once again, man. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks, Paul. You too,
man.
Have a great one, man.
Halloween never ends. Suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not. Yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS, cause Halloween never ends.